today. Now go and tell all the neighbors, yeah. Then crank up the radio. There's infotainment, brilliance to get you on your way. Wake up, start your day with Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I love it when they sing my name like that. It makes me so happy. And I'm sure it makes you happy as well to hear them singing my name with such fervor and enthusiasm. It's like a gospel choir revival in the tent down in the corner. Head down there and see how the Holy Ghost hits you. It's good stuff. Oh, the Lakey choir is amazing, isn't it? But good morning, everybody. How are you? It's good to have you here. Happy Halloween, everybody. That's what Jeff says. Look at that. Okay, look at this. Okay, let's stop. You're starting on a bad foot, Jeff. Happy Halloween. I can't wait to see what shirt that Chad made Jimmy wear. Okay, producer Chad, despite rumors, does not lay my clothes out on the bed every night and tuck me in. He doesn't do that. He marks them with Garanimals type colors, and he knows I go to the closet in the morning when I'm here when I'm at the house. I then can match the giraffe with the giraffe. That's all he does. He does not lay the clothes out come over every day and lay the clothes out. He marks them with Garanimals, and it turns out I have a lot of blue shirts. That's all I can tell you. So. Jeff, what are we going to do with you? Happy Halloween, everybody. Is making dressed up for Halloween today. I never really understood dressing up in the workplace. I never did. Sometimes I dress up as a talk show host, but I pretended to be a talk show host for most of the year anyway, so that was not unusual. If you're wearing a costume, you're welcome to show us, tell us about it. We'd love to see it. You can post, I think, photos in most of the forums that were out there. I don't know if we can pop those on the screen, but we'd like to see it and laugh at your foolishness, but we'd enjoy that. Feel free to post your photos of your Halloweeny costume. Not your weenie, but your Halloweeny costume. I want to make sure we're clear because we do have people like Jeff watching the program, and sometimes they mishear some of the things we say. But if you got a Halloweeny costume on, feel free to jump on and let us know what you're wearing. And that brings up a question of the day. I do want to ask you take you back to memory days, the days of your memories and the memory wormhole, if you will. Did anybody have a favorite costume that you remember as a child being so proud of? You thought it was the best thing ever. And I posed this question to producer Chad and said, this could be a great question of the day. Maybe there's a costume that everybody has a fond memory of. And honest to goodness, I don't think I can remember any costume that I wore as a child. I don't think I remember. I don't. There's nothing that pops off the stand. I do remember in high school or elementary school, we had like a 1950s dress-up day, and I think I tried to dress like Arthur Fonzarelli from the Happy Days. I remember that, but I don't even know if that was Halloween. I think that was just 50s Day. Anyway, what was your favorite Halloween costume as a child? I would love to hear what it was that you dressed as. On the YouTube, somebody says Mr. T was somebody. I hope that Jeff, that's the same Jeff, right? I hope you didn't do blackface. And if so, don't send us those photos because we don't want to incriminate you if you ever decide to run for president or anything. But you could be the Prime Minister of Canada if you went blackface. So I don't know. Anyway, let us know what's your favorite Halloween costume. I do remember I have an all-time favorite. My son, growing up, he had epic costumes. So he was a costume king. And he always did great with costumes. And my favorite was when he was about, I guess 13 or 14 or 12, in that middle school age, he decided he wanted to dress up like Urkel. And if you remember Urkel, did I do that? And I wish I would have brought the photo. I maybe able to find it. But he dressed up as Urkel for Halloween. It was the best costume ever. And it was fantastic. And I don't even remember what show Urkel was on, but he knew who Urkel was, and he had never really seen the show. It had just been something he had seen online or in a TikTok or something. So anyway, my son was Urkel. That was an epic costume. I'll always remember it. I have photos of it. It just popped up in a memory the other day. Arloa jumps in here. I see popping into the chat room. She says, I had a cool gorilla costume for the first grade. I don't remember the others. I remember in preschool, my son was a lion. We had a great lion costume for him. That was good. But I don't remember my costumes. I really, honestly, God, don't remember any of my costumes. Am I alone in that? Because Halloween's such a big and epic day for the kids. You look forward to it. You got a party at your school, the whole thing, right? I do remember I had a costume in which I had one of those plastic matches, mask, I should say, that had the rubber band. And I think they make masks a little bit better. I remember we had roaming around the house, I don't know whose it was, one of those rubber masks that set across your face. And if you didn't put it on right, you would literally suffocate in those things. But I don't remember it being a big costume. If you can help me on that, feel free to jump in there. That am I the only person that doesn't remember my childhood costumes? I think I had a good childhood. I think I enjoyed it. I think I did, but I don't remember any of my costume. What was your favorite Halloween costume? Jeff says, I hope that, this is about the Mr. T. I hope the cheap plastic mask doesn't count as blackface. I didn't mean to be racially insensitive. Listen, we're all friends here. And, when you're a kid, if you want to be Mr. T, those plastic masks were not always that authentic, unless you got one of the big rubber ones that went over your head. The plastic ones that just covered the face were not always that authentic, and they were very uncomfortable. And the mouth hole was about this big; you couldn't breathe in them. Other than that, they were fine. All right, we've got a lot of news to get to. We must get to news, and happy Halloween, everybody. Question of the day: what was your favorite Halloween costume as a child? As the children roaming the street, what was your favorite Halloween costume? I was thinking about memories of Halloween. I lived on a street. And I lived on the street, and we knew whose house to go to. We didn't roam far to Halloween candy hunt. We kind of stayed within the neighbors. We had to go to people's houses. We knew that was the rule, and it was good. We didn't just go randomly door to door. I lived in the hood, okay? So we did. You went to people's houses you knew for the most part, and it was just, you just did your thing. And there's a man named Mr. I don't know his last name. His name was Grady. Grady, Grady. That was his name. He was an old bachelor guy, and he was the house we all went to because we knew he would give out full-size candy bars. He's an old geezer and a very nice man, a very pristine lawn, and just very nice. He didn't yell at us for occasionally running across his yard. Some people would, riding their bikes in the wrong place. He never yelled at us, but he always on Halloween, the only time you really ever saw him, I mean, he just never saw him. But Halloween, he'd deliver a full-size candy bar, and that was a house you wanted to go to. I remember Mr. Grady's house more than I remember my own Halloween costume. So I don't know what I wore. Maybe I went naked for Halloween. I think that would be frowned upon, but I don't know what I did. Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you here. Let's dive into some news here. I got some more Halloween stories here. Let me give you a couple of them. You ready for this? Are you ready for this? I teased this early in the week. The number one fear that people have this spooky season is actually government officials. What terrifies you most? According to a Chapman University poll, an annual poll about real-life fears that people have, corrupt government officers is a top fear. 69% of people say they're very afraid of corrupt government. Also in the room, cyber terrorism. They're afraid of that. People are afraid of pollution in drinking water. That's number 7. Number 8, Russian nuclear weapons. And number 10 is government tracking personal data. And also, number 2 is people becoming seriously ill. But according to the Chapman University poll they do every year this time, a lot of folks have some fear about their government, and that is well merited that you should. I also have another story about, have you ever been? I've never been because I never needed to. Has anybody ever been to one of those spirit Halloween stores? They go to abandoned, like Bed Bath & Beyonds or Toys R Us stores or whatever, and they set up shop for a season and sell costumes. I don't think I've ever been in one. Evidently, it's quite a costume collection, quite a lucrative business. Well, there's a story here. A pet monkey got loose in one. Most suburbs, according to the story, have an abandoned Kmart or a Joann Fabrics or a Bed Bath & Beyond or a Toys R Us that sits dormant for 9 months. Well, the thing is, Spirit Halloween will go in and raise that. They'll rent that thing for a couple of months. A pet monkey got loose from its owner inside a Spirit Halloween store in Plano, Texas. Hello, Texas. How you doing? Have you heard about this? They spent more than 30 minutes. The monkey spent more than 30 minutes swinging from rafters and poles. No word as to whether the monkey was flinging poo. I'm not sure about that, but the monkey got loose in there. At first, people weren't sure it was real because most things in Spirit Halloween are not real, but there was apparently one dead giveaway. This monkey, here's the answer, was wearing a diaper. Much like producer Chad on most days, wearing a diaper. Well, that's what you get. Everybody thinks he dresses me. wear a blue shirt. He's a very boring dresser, isn't he, if he does that? Witnesses say the monkey got spooked by an animatronic. Can we say that without coffee? Animatronic display inside the store got away from its owner. So some owner in Plano is walking around with a monkey. That seems weird in itself, but I don't judge at all. I really don't. The monkey was not hurt, and neither was anyone in the store during the chaos. Officials say that no humans were in danger, although a few customers did book it out of the store while it was happening and said, we're getting out of here. There's a monkey flinging from the rooftop, and if he yanks off that diaper, he's going to be flinging something else. Coincidentally, these reports came out the night that there were about 3 lab monkeys that had the news was circulating that had escaped from Tulane University from a truck that crashed in Mississippi. Remember that? It was the monkeys. The truck crashed and the monkeys got out from the lab and they had escaped and they had COVID and herpes and all sorts of stuff. And the same day that's circulating in the news, a monkey swinging from the raft for the Spirit Halloween store. So, all right, more Halloween, we can do that. Favorite Halloween memory? Love to get your. I'm going to get to real news and headlines. Don't panic here, but if you'd like to give us your favorite costume as a child, love to hear from you. Barbara says my favorite costume when I was a kid was a hobo. I do remember dressing as a hobo. My mom helped me put a hobo suit together. It was just ragged old clothes. I don't think you can dress as a hobo. I think it's illegal to dress as a homeless person now because you'd be like Jeff being racially insensitive. But a hobo, I do remember that. You have it's like I'm with a psychiatrist right now, and it just popped back into my memory. For some reason, I had suppressed that one. Cody says I was E.T. that my Nana made for me. That's good. E.T. How do you do? Is that a mask? That'd be a tough one to do, right? That'd be fun. A ghost was always a winner too, but can't wear sheets anymore. Might be so much of a dirty laundry costumes due to government shutdown. That would be. Yeah, I think it was frowned upon in the day to put a white sheet over your head. That's probably not good. Well, I know you're a ghost and stuff, but you got to really make sure that people know that's what that is. Scott says on the Rumble, what is it with people thinking acceptable to bring their pets into stores? I'm highly allergic, but I guess my rights to be able to breathe is not important. Okay, I understand. But are you allergic to monkeys? I mean, it's one thing I'm allergic to cats and dogs, but how do you know you're allergic to monkeys? No one knows you're allergic to monkeys. There's not a monkey's allergy test. Scott, I think you need to go get a monkey and cuddle up with it and see how it affects you, and then you can claim you're highly allergic to monkeys. You don't know that. We don't know that. I don't know if I have a monkey allergy. I don't think I do. We should do some news. I'm not going to make monkey jokes. I am not. The hipster youth are looking at me here at the studio. Aiden especially is wanting me to talk about touching. We're a dignified show. The hipster youth making humor that's inappropriate. All right, let's dive some news. What do I say? Real news, no Halloween news. Real news. Let's do a couple of seconds of this. Then I want to play an interview that I did yesterday that I thought was kind of fun, and I think you should go listen to it. All right, breaking news. Kash Patel says the FBI has stopped a Halloween terrorist attack. That's right, a Halloween terrorist attack was about to be implemented, but the FBI jumps in and stops it. It was going to happen in Michigan. Multiple people who had been allegedly plotting a violent attack over Halloween weekend were arrested Friday morning, that's this morning, in Michigan, according to FBI Director Kash Patel's social media post. Patel did not release further information about the arrest, but said the information would be coming out. Dearborn Police said in a social media post that the department was made aware that the FBI had conducted operations in the city on Friday and reassured residents that there is no threat to the community. Separately in May, the FBI said it had arrested a man who had spent months planning an attack against a U.S. Army site in suburban Detroit on behalf of the Islamic State group, ISIS. That man was Amar Saad, didn't know that his supposed allies in the alleged plot were undercover FBI agents. Saad remains in custody and charged with attempting to provide support to terrorist organization. The criminal complaint was replaced in September with a criminal information document signaling that a guilty plea is likely. But Kash Patel tweets out this morning that the FBI has stopped a potential terrorist attack by doing some kind of action in Dearborn, Michigan. And it's going to be interesting to see how this one plots out and find out how many of the enemies we find out were living and are living among us. Another take on the same story, justthenews.com, that's John Solomon. They are reporting that there was an October surprise. I guess this is the Halloween attack. And that they have handing over, they had the explosive Arctic frost investigation. So the Halloween attack was going to be an October surprise happening today. But also there's documents that have gone over to the FBI, have sent to Congress, that show revelation that the FBI and other people in the Arctic frost investigation, including Jack Smith last year at this time, were planning another October surprise. This was going to be unlike the Russian collusion 4 years earlier that occurred in 2020. A memo buried in a 235-page of evidence sent off to Congress and the House Judiciary Committee chronicles how the FBI's Washington field office rifled through financial records and campaign expenditure reports, producing tactical intelligence trying to link payments of Trump's re-election campaign and a vendor named America Made Media Corporation to possible casino gambling. In short, the FBI agents that were corrupt in D.C. believed an employee of the campaign went gambling at a casino with American media consultants, got money for the campaign work, and not exactly the crime of the century, but evidently Jack Smith and his rogue band of thugs were planning a terrorist attack on our election this time last year, and remarkably, it did not all come to fruition. That's a story at justthenews.com. Also, we have a story here as we dive through the headlines that are out there today. Trump has urged the Republicans to go nuclear, not with bombs, but with votes. He says it's time to end the government shutdown. President Trump, freshly home from a successful Asia trip, has on late last night interjected himself back in domestic policy by urging Senate Republicans to enact the nuclear option that would end a Democrat filibuster and reopen the federal government. According to his Truth Social platform, Donald Trump said, quote, "It is now time for Republicans to play their Trump card and go for what is called the nuclear option. Get rid of the filibuster. Get rid of it now." The president said that during his Asia trip, he was asked by foreign leaders why Democrats had shut down the government and why Republicans were unable to overcome their opposition. Trump said Democrats during the Biden era were willing to get rid of the filibuster, eliminating the 60-vote threshold for floor votes in the Senate. And Donald Trump says, go nuclear on the Democrats. What say you? Are watching this program now. Do you think that Donald Trump, the Senate Republicans, should go nuclear and just end the filibuster when it comes to this nonsense of opening the government? The Democrats have no rhyme, no reason, no policy, no procedure. They're complaining this week about Donald Trump being in Asia. They're complaining about all sorts of goofy things, but they have no policy. And if they had real policy that they wanted to implement long term, they could put that in the debate for the full budget. This is a continuing resolution that they have passed 13 times before. It's a continuing resolution that Chuck Schumer himself helped draft. And for right now, they're just deciding that they're going to corrupt the whole system and hurt people and harm employees. By the way, we're going to play a video of an interview I did yesterday, but I wanted to also back report, as you thought the producer Chad dresses me. A couple of weeks ago, I admitted that I had ordered readers, right? I did the reader search, and I said, please, Amazon, show me readers for classy, stylish readers for men with big heads. And that was what I had. I have a big noggin. And I ordered some, and they were clear, but I didn't know what to order. So I split it down the middle. They had like 1x magnification up to 5x magnification. I said, well, let's split it down the middle. And I got some clear frame glasses, and they were fantastic. I could see things I couldn't see as long as it was right here. But if I tried to look away, you couldn't even, you're nauseous. And so evidently 2.5 times I didn't need that. So I ordered another pair. Now they couldn't get the clear ones here, but I'd like to debut, my friends, that announcing a football game, as I got to do last night, I might have looked a little bit like Harry Carey, but please note the readers. Do I look smart? Do I look like I should be in Fox News? I can see these now. These are much better. I can actually, the other ones I couldn't even see the screen because they were so magnified. These are like 1x, 1.5x. Yeah, I can read. I'm going to read books. I'm going to be fancy. How do you think of them? Everybody gets to vote. This is my Halloween costume as well. I'm going to look like a smart guy, or I don't know, Harry Carey. Does this make a costume for me, Delilah? I don't know. All right, let's go to take these off. I don't need this. I'm fine. I'm good. I just need them for reading. I don't need them for staring at a computer. Are those blue or black, Jeff says. Well, Jeff, I'm glad you asked. I'd like to show you. They are black. My shirt is blue. My glasses are black. Do you see the contrast there? Do you see the contrast? I can see the contrast. It's fantastic. For a better example of the contrast, here is a blue cup, and here are my black glasses. Now, there's a lot of blue in this studio, and that's not just the emotions of the people that work here. There's a lot of blue in the studio here. We got blue lights, blue everything. So it's tough to see. I understand, and some people are just slow. But yeah, these are black glasses. All right. Yesterday, we had the privilege of having John O'Connor. Anybody listen to my radio show for many years. John O'Connor is a very smart fella. He was worked in the Department of Justice. He's done all sorts of trial work for the government. Later on, after the Watergate era, he became Deep Throat's actual attorney. He's written a book on Watergate, that whole era. He really brought some good perspective yesterday on the program, that sometimes we only focus in our world, and we think that sometimes history begins the day we were born, and we don't see the greater context. I was too young. I was born during Watergate, but I was too young I wouldn't know what Watergate. I don't think I'd said my first word when it came to around that time. So I don't understand the perspective of, but John brought such a great perspective yesterday that what we're living through today is just running. It started with Watergate and the Washington Post. It started with the media. It started with Democrats figuring out the scheme that they could take down a powerful person, take down a Republican by making accusations, even though that they were unfounded and or exaggerated. And what we're watching today was something that actually was a scheme that the Democrats figured out back in the days of Watergate. I had never heard that that historical perspective, and I thought it was fascinating. And I would encourage you, as you always can, if you miss a show, go back and listen to yesterday's program, which would have been Friday, October the 30th. You can download on all the podcast platforms, and you can get on the podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, etc. Sign up for those, get it, and go back and listen to yesterday's show. You can watch it on the platform you're watching on right now if you want to see it. And it was John O'Connor. We're going to play just a snippet of it because there's a fun Halloween portion of this as well, I think it'll get to. But we're just going to play a snippet of it because I think it's worth listening to. If you want to understand the full context of where you're at, we think of it all began in 2016 when Trump came down the escalator. No, it did not begin in 2016 coming down the escalator. Promise you it did not. A lot of the scheme, they did go crazy over Donald Trump, but the platforms and the policies and the procedures and the schemes that they put in place started back in the days of Watergate, and that's what John O'Connor talked about. Go back and watch yesterday's show, or go back and listen to yesterday's show, and I think you will find it very, very intriguing. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a snippet of an interview. I want you to pay attention. I think we'll get to it, have time to get to it. At the very end, John O'Connor, we ask him what he's going to be for Halloween. Esteemed and famed lawyer John O'Connor, and he's not dressing up, but he may be partying with a crypto billionaire in Gavin Newsom. Roll the tape, producer Chad. This is a snippet from yesterday. Pay attention. And began today's partisan advocacy journalism, and obviously that journalism is what we're talking about here today. John, I want you to give us a little perspective. You were Deep Throat's attorney during that Watergate, post-Watergate era, and I'm listening to some of the things that brought Richard Nixon down, Richard Milhouse Nixon, the spying, the audio tapes, all the stuff that legendary in the Watergate era. And I'm watching what Jack Smith has done. I'm watching what Merrick Garland has approved. It really makes the Watergate saga, in my estimation, almost look like Boy Scout activity. What is your perspective? You were in the middle of it historically, and what happened at Watergate, and then what's happening and what's been happening of the weaponization of the justice system. Is there a comparison between the two?
Oh, yeah. First of all, I was not Deep Throat's lawyer until later, but I was a federal prosecutor when this was going on, and I studied it quite diligently and discovered back in the 1970s who Deep Throat was. I knew that, I could tell. But what is very apparent today when you look at everything is that the Washington Post knew more. This was supposedly a cover-up about a campaign operation that went bad, the burglary of the DNC. It was not a campaign operation. The CIA had infiltrated the White House. There's no doubt about it. I'm not a crazy theorist here. The CIA had done it. This was to protect a CIA operation and make it seem legal if it was done by the White House. But it was the Post, and the reason I wrote the book Postgate is it was the Post concealing of information from the dumb proletariat that pushed Nixon out of office. He never, even Nixon himself, had thought, well, maybe this burglary was ordered by John Mitchell, my attorney general. That's what they all thought. And then at some point they realized that he didn't do it. And even today, the Washington Post now will admit that John Mitchell did not order the burglary. Well, if he didn't order it, who did? And it turns out that it had nothing to do with the White House or the Oval Office. It was a bad rap. But what that did, Jimmy, what Watergate did was it gave the liberals and their allies in the press the formula, the template to get rid of Republicans and conservatives they did not like. And that's the formula. And now that formula is applied and applied and applied, so that the story on Russiagate is far worse, because that essentially was a dirty campaign operation. Was Russiagate itself, was the story, was the dirty campaign operation. And the media is sanctioning it by accusing Trump. So in essence, Watergate was about sort of a dirty trick by the Washington Post to get rid of Richard Nixon. Now, I'm not saying Richard Nixon acted perfectly or his fellows did, but they didn't know what had gone on. They were scratching their heads as to how this burglary had happened. So they kind of stayed mum. They didn't know what to say. But today, the real farce is that now the media can go out and make or break kings. That was proven in Watergate. That's why all these folks, when they go to journalism in school, they're told that they're kings of the universe, queens of the universe, and they can do whatever they want to do and get rid of politicians they don't like. And the politicians know, like Jack Smith know, that they're not going to be brought to book if they're on that side. So that's what is happening today. It is an outgrowth of Watergate today, and that's why I spent all that time writing this book, because I was stunned when I started researching further about the Post reporting on this.
If you want to understand where we're at now, you kind of need to understand where we've been. And the name of the book is called Postgate: How the Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat and Created Today's Partisan Advocacy Journalism. If you get ticked to the media, this is the root of all that. John O'Connor, one more quick thought before we let you talk about the podcast, et cetera, that you have about Watergate. I remember the late and great Rush Limbaugh used to say that if the media doesn't make you, it's harder for them to break you. And that's what Donald Trump brought to the table, is that he was not a politician that had grown up just because the media. He had made himself. He was a self-made man. He had built his own celebrity. And so when the media came against him with Russia, Stormy Daniels, hookers in Moscow hotel rooms, they couldn't tear Donald Trump down because they didn't build him up. And I guess that's probably what has let Donald Trump be so resilient, is that the partisan journalists did not create him. Therefore, they had a tougher time destroying him.
Well, I would say this, because he's the first guy that had the guts to go against the press and call them fake news. And there are an awful lot of people out there in regular America that have been waiting for somebody that would not be polite like them. The conservatives are always been polite people, and they seethe as this nonsense comes out in the biased media. Trump was the first guy that came along and was not like his constituents. He's not a polite, reserved guy. He came out like a bull in a china shop, and everybody went, yay, this is what we've been waiting for. Somebody who is not going to be cowed by the press. So you're right about this. First of all, he built himself up before he ran for president, but then he also used that power to come out and say, BS, you're fake news, you're lying, and it caught on. People said, yes, he's right, isn't he? So that's it. I think the fake press elected Trump. That was one of his biggest strengths, was the fact that the press was lying about him and going after him so viciously. And people see that.
The name of your book, Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed, Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and Began Today's Partisan Advocacy Journalism. Isn't it just amazing that all the things that you spotted that were happening almost 50 years ago in the Watergate time, they've now kind of maybe backfired, and Donald Trump brought the backfire on the media, and the partisan advocacy journalism that used to hide behind an air of sanctimony has been exposed. It took 50 years, but every action has now had an equal and opposite reaction.
That's right, and he's destroying some of these businesses because people are realizing they can't go and get straight news from these people, and their ratings are in the tank, and their credibility's in the tank. And so I say, great.
Yeah, couldn't happen to a nicer group of people over at NBC. John O'Connor, first of all, you've got the book. We've talked about that, Postgate. Folks should get a copy of it if you want to understand where we're at today with the media, and you get a copy of this book, the Postgate book by John O'Connor. John, you also have a podcast I've alluded to a couple of times that's really interesting because it's kind of the backstory of what the kind of behind the scenes regarding Watergate. Talk about the podcast and other things that you'd like to push, sir.
Well, I've got a podcast and also got a book that covers the same topic. It's called The podcast and the book is called Mysteries of Watergate. And I break down Watergate into 34 fairly quick chapters. They're bite-sized chapters so that people can understand exactly what happens in this fascinating thing. There's so many moving parts in it. And it's a fascinating read. And I try to do it to some of my buddies who say, I want this in simplified, easy to digest form. So I wrote a book really for my buddies who are of a certain age and maybe their reading comprehension isn't as great as it was when they were 21. But I try to do it really for everybody. So this book is called The Mysteries of Watergate, What Really Happened. And if you want a primer on Watergate, there it is.
If folks want to hear the podcast, read the book, everything can be found. It's all linked up at postgatebook.com, correct?
That's right. My website, Postgate Book. I've got 150 articles on there that are worth at least exploring. Then you might hit a subject that your audience would like.
Let me ask you, John O'Connor, you're going to be dressed up for Halloween? You handing out this little bitty candy bars or the full-size candy bars there at the O'Connor estate tomorrow?
Well, I live up on a hill, and so nobody will trick or treat. So I'm going down to actually near where Gavin Newsom lives, actually, where the big houses are in the flat land. And there's in our area, there's some tremendous, it's really party time. I got to say this, the adults go out as much as the kids do because you've got parties and it's really quite nice. And so there's a crypto billionaire that lives in the town and he invited the whole town to his party. So only in California this happened. While we're getting burned up and everybody's paying too much in taxes, there are a few good things out here, Jimmy.
Rioting on the streets, illegals running amok, but the crypto billionaire has invited John O'Connor over for a Snickers. That's exciting. That's a good day.
Yeah, he hands out big candy bars to the young kids. The kids love it. I mean, every kid in town is going to this deal. Yeah. It's fun.
Are you going to be in costume, John? What's the costume?
Well, I'm scary enough, Jimmy, to little kids, just as I am.
I think you do a book promotion. I want you in one of those, you sometimes see them in crime movies, they rob banks, with one of those Richard Nixon masks. I think you could sell the book there with you, a Nixon mask for you.
That's right. And we might even want to think about a Joe Biden mask, maybe. Actually, a Trump mask probably would scare a lot of people. Remember, I'm in an area that is still wonderful as it is. It's about 85% Democrat, so I think a Trump mask.
All right. As Gavin Newsom shows up at the Halloween, pull that down. There we go. I just wanted to play a little bit of that because it's really just fascinating if you want to understand. That interview is in its entirety. We only played a snippet of it for you. It's in its entirety, and you can find it on all the podcast platforms, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, or whatever you're watching on now. We're on several Facebook feeds right now streaming. You're on the Rumbles this morning, the YouTubes, the Twitter. You can usually scroll back and you can actually watch it, or the podcast will go up, is already up. It goes up right after the program. Thousands of earballs will hear that interview, and you can be among them by going to listen to it. It really is a fascinating kind of perspective. Just again, people believe that history begins kind of the day they're born And so let's say you were cutting your teeth or becoming a teenager or getting to vote around the days of Reagan or the days of George H.W. Bush, or maybe you're a little younger and your first vote was in Obama. You kind of know American history from that, and everything beyond that's guys in powdered wigs. But you need to understand a lot of things that are coming home to roost today, including the treatment of Donald John Trump did not just start with the escalator ride. It happens. It started with the partisan media figuring out they could be advocate for their cause and their persons, and they could do that by destroying that. And that started back in the days of the Watergate era. So that's a fascinating interview. You can rewatch it on all the platforms we're on, or go listen to the podcast audio. And don't forget, even today's show will go up on podcast version in just a few moments after the program ends, and thousands of earballs hear every one of our shows and to see every one of our show. And we appreciate all of you. One of the people we also appreciate, before we go to my guest here, is Bill Walton. But I want to talk about Sherry Cree, realtor, friend of the program. If you're in Colorado, pay very close attention. If you're listening across America, you can be jealous, and maybe you want to move to Colorado just so you can deal with Sherry Cree. But Sherry's our Colorado-based realtor. By the way, she can recommend or reference you to someone in a different area if it's not an area she covers, so don't be jealous too much. But she's just a fantastic realtor, and I always tell you she has a different approach to selling real estate. She believes with the kind of, it's how you view it. What lens am I looking at this with? And she's looking at home sales, home buy, real estate transactions is something that if you play it right, it's not just going to be a great place for your family. It's not just going to be a great place for your kids and your dog and your cat and to celebrate Christmas and create your home and family memories. Your real estate, your home is going to be something that she keeps us in her head at all times. This is something that's going to create generational wealth. This is something that we need to get the right price. We need to get the right deal. We need to get the right place so that down the road, when the time comes, that's a home that can and will create generational wealth for the family. She just views it differently. It's not just about the memories. It's about the right move. It's about the right neighborhood. It's about the right pricing if she's selling your home. Homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. You'll figure it out when you meet her that she is she dots the I's, my friend. She crosses the T, and she's not just putting a sign of the yard's part of it, but the expert eye she brings, the expertise she brings on pricing. In a volatile market that we have in Colorado, we've had very big highs, very low lows. We're in a kind of a rebound. Interest rates are changing. You want to play the game and play it right, and Sherry can help you do that. Homeswithsherry.com. Anywhere in the Colorado Front Range, that's the I-25 corridor. If you're in Colorado, she's your person. If you're in Greeley, she can help you. If you're in Fort Collins, if you're in Denver, if you're in Boulder, if you're in Broomfield, if you're in Aurora, if you're in Parker, you get the idea. Westminster, Arvada, Thornton. You know where I'm talking. Longmont. Hello, Longmont. She can help you. Homeswithsherry.com. Let her help you. Don't forget, if you're military or first responder or veteran, she'll take a portion of her commissions. Well, she'll discount her commissions. That way, it leaves more money in your pocket. And also, my friends, everybody who buys from her, she takes a portion of her own commissions and she donates that to the charity of your choice. She's a fantastic lady, friend of the program. She's been to Africa with us for our charity work with Rivers Promise, building our Legacy Christian Academy school there. And we just are proud to have her here as one of our sponsors of the show, and I hope you'll reach out to her in Colorado again to talk about the selling window. Maybe you're not selling now, maybe it's a 2026 thing. Well, now's the time to start that talking and conversation. Homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. Sherry Cree, my good friend. Homeswithsherry.com. Mention my name. All right, ladies and gentlemen, right on spot. It's 8:45 of the Mountain Time Zone, 10:45 of the Eastern Time Zone, and Bill Walton is our scheduled guest. I'll give you a quick introduction of Bill. I think he's been on the program a couple of times, but it's been a while, so let's just give you the quick and dirty intro, or clean intro, as that may be. America's Common Sense CEO. He's host of the Bill Walton Show. Formerly served on the action and landing teams for Donald J. Trump's 2016 presidential transition team. He has served as a leader and board member of leading national policy economics business organizations such as the Heritage Foundation, American Conservatives Union, CPAC is what you know that as, American Enterprise Institute, and a whole bunch more we could list out here. The host of the Bill Walton Show is now America's Common Sense CEO, and he's our guest on the program this morning. Bill Walton, happy Friday to you. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. I just hearing your previous promotion, I need to hire you because I've never heard a better one. So Jimmy, you,
Listen,
you have talent. You ought to go into this.
I didn't try to do this for a living, huh? I'm telling you. Bill, call me. I can promote.
I'll get you.
What did I heard somebody say that Donald Trump was a cross between P.T. Barnum and Ronald Reagan. And I said that to a friend, and they said, "Yeah, you're like P.T. Barnum." And I don't know if that was an insult or not, but that's kind of a comparison I got. I don't know. All right, Bill, let's dive into some fun stuff. President Trump, you're America's common sense CEO. President Trump returns from his Asia tour. He's received like a rock star. They give him a crown. I thought that was hilarious. They gave him a crown in honor of No King's Day, I guess. But he does come away with a deal. It's a kind of a skeleton deal. There's going to be some more negotiation with Xi Jinping coming down the road. But let me ask you, is this deal something that Chuck Schumer said he folded on China? Give me your analysis of the deal.
Well, he did not fold on China. And, giving the scorecard here, I'd give him an A on style and generating excitement and bringing attention to the Asian market that is vital to us. I'd give him a C plus, though, in terms of the outcomes. I mean, I don't think this moved the ball that much. What we did with China in particular is just really agree to wait another year before we go at some serious trade arrangements. We did get a promise for them to stop shipping as much fentanyl into the country or fentanyl precursors, which is something, but we didn't. I'd like to get that in writing from Xi rather than just some bland assurances. And we did get them commit to give us the raw earth materials. You remember, these are, it's a small, tiny cost of putting electronic equipment together, but it's vital. They don't work without it. Your car doesn't run, your TV doesn't run, but more importantly, the defense industry doesn't work very well without raw earth materials. And China's got a 90% market share in that. And they've said to us basically, well, unless you give us exactly what we want, we're not going to ship it to you. Well, he pulled that one back from the brink, and so for that, I think we can be really, really thankful. He did a good job on that.
Bill Walton's my guest. If you're listening to the show later, you don't see his name on the screen. He's America's Common Sense CEO, the host of the Bill Walsh Show, and we'll talk more about how you can follow Bill and watch his show in the future. Bill, this raw earth or rare earth materials we keep hearing about, most of us had not really heard about these but it seems like every deal President Trump is getting includes some of those raw earth materials. When he struck the deal with Ukraine, we were supposedly have access to their rare earth minerals. Japan, I believe, also said they're going to share and strike a deal with the U.S. to counter China's hold in that thing. It's just fascinating that this thing that has become something we never heard of is now a hot commodity, that every deal we strike, Ukraine, Japan, and China are dealing with these rare earth minerals.
Well, we overlooked a lot in the last 10 or 15 years in our dealings with China. And rare earth's very interesting because it sounds like these things are diamonds or something, gold or something. They're not. They're just they occur everywhere in the crust of the earth. And it's the issue with them is not that they exist. The issue is mining. And then once you mine them, you have to refine them and process them. And mining is extremely, as you know, mines are not exactly popular in the United States, and refining even less so. It's a really dirty business. And so we find ourselves in a position, as with a lot of the other countries, Japan and the other major powers, beholden to China, because they were willing to dig the mines and engage in a really ugly refining that has to be done. And now we find ourselves looking at the fact that it takes 29 years in the United States at the moment to get a permit to open a mine. Wow. And the list of environmental regulations just goes on and on and on. It would take 10 pages to describe it. I'm not going to do that. But so it is something what I think he should do is declare some sort of martial law. That's really not the correct word, but some sort of national agenda to make this happen. And there are about 10 states that this could be done in, and there's some place that's away from places where it would bother a lot of people. And also the refining techniques have gotten a lot better, and it's a little less dirty. But we've got to get into that business because we cannot trust Russia. We cannot trust China.
It's just one of those other areas that you say they had 90% of the market. I don't think Americans realize, and obviously the last administration didn't do enough to decouple us from China.
No.
I think we need to decouple more. I mean, you go back in the COVID days, the pharmaceuticals, the protective gear, it was all manufactured in China, and you realize that's not they're not a supply chain. They're sometimes our lifeline, and that's dangerous. And I think we should emphasize that more. Do you sense that President Trump understands? I mean, we've talked about moving pharmaceuticals back here. Let's become less dependent on rare earth minerals from there. We don't want to be dependent on oil and gas from the Middle East. But there's a heck of a lot of other stuff that I sense that we're still dependent on China for. What does it take to move towards that so that we're not dependent on these key items?
Well, I think Donald Trump is very aware of these dependencies. As a business guy, he understands supply chains. And, you mentioned drugs. We can barely produce aspirin in this country or antibiotics. And the major pharmaceutical companies and even the package pharma companies have offshored a lot of the production to India, to China, to places that China in particular that doesn't like us. And we saw that during the lockdowns that they threatened to withhold that. That should be part of the larger plan. There's critical industries that we've got to recapture here in the United States. I think pharma is probably the easiest because it's just a question of building processing facilities, which we can do, which we have the know-how. We just been putting them up in other countries. But the thing, it's really dozens of U.S. industries have got deep ties into China. The NBA has got a $1.5 billion deal with them. There are more Starbucks stores in China than there are here in the United States. Apple makes its iPhone over there. And in the process of the last 10, 15 years, they taught 28 million Chinese how to manufacture complicated electronic devices. And therefore, a lot of that expertise, which used to be proprietary to us, is now, now in their hands, and they're using it. So we weren't watching the ball when we trusted China to become a democracy and be just like us. And the Communist Party of China had other plans.
Yeah, we still have not held China accountable for some of their actions, such as COVID-19. I hope that these trade deals will at least level the playing field a little bit more. Back to the first thing that we talked about in this interview, that this is going to be a process of which not necessarily the grand slam home run deal that was struck by Donald Trump. How much of this deal, or this conversation, this photo op, if you will, with Xi Jinping, was really meant to, let's nurture this relationship. We need China to help us stop the war with Russia and the Ukraine. This was really about really making more of a friend. Hey, we're in this together. Well, you'll come to Mar-a-Lago, you'll come to the White House, I'll come to China. But let's forget this Vladimir guy. How much of this was really just about sticking to the old Vladimir Putin?
I think a lot of it, if you've ever met Donald Trump, he can be extremely charming. And, this trip was a charm offensive, and he wanted to be seen with Xi, shaking hands. There was a scene about, 6 weeks ago when Putin and Modi of India and Xi got together, and they were all smiling. And, actually Putin and Modi were seen holding hands together. So I think Trump wants to get in the middle of that relationship to make sure that China doesn't cozy up even more to Russia. I don't think he achieved a lot with Xi. The Chinese have been benefiting enormously from the Russia-Ukraine invasion. They've gotten to watch how all of our military equipment operates in the field. They've gotten to see kind of how much we have left on the shelves. They've seen our battle tactics or technologies, and so they've been watching this with glee because they're getting a lot of information that they don't have to really lift a finger. So I think getting them to help us wind up the fight between Russia and Ukraine, I don't think it's going to happen.
The voice of Bill Walton, if you're listening to the show later or maybe not paying attention to your screen, he's America's Common Sense CEO, host of the Bill Walton Show.
I try.
Let's talk about the Bill Walton Show. Where do people find it? When do you do it? And what do you talk about?
Well, I've been doing it for a number of years, and it's based in. Excuse me, I have to turn off these devices. Um, it's a 45 to 60-minute, deep dive interview show with people that know a lot about things that I think people ought to know about. We did a show with Art Laffer, who invented the Laffer curve and supply side economics. We did a deep dive with Eric Prince, who was the founder of Blackwater and now is using his militia techniques around the world and has some really interesting views about modern warfare and drone warfare and so on and so forth. We've had Ed Meese on, who's the former Attorney General under Ronald Reagan, who's really a kind of a god in the conservative movement. He's an amazing man. So you'll find us at thebillwaltonshow.com, which is the website, and we've got about 300. What do we have? About 270 shows there, and they're mostly evergreen. And I think as people, you've got kind of a lot to choose from, and it's worth a 45-minute listen if you want to learn a lot about a topic that you may not otherwise know about. I haven't really. I've got a tagline on it: money, culture, power, which allows me to cover everything. So we'll
I understand. TheBillWaltonShow.com is right there on the screen if you want to check it out this weekend. Maybe while the trick-or-treaters are walking through the neighborhood, and in a gap, you can listen to a couple of the Bill Walton shows, but take some time to look it up. TheBillWaltonShow.com, TheBillWaltonShow.com. Bill, it's great to see you again, my friend. Thanks for hopping on, and we'll talk again, I hope, in the future, especially when I need some common sense, because you are America's common sense CEO.
Thanks. It's great. Good talking with you.
TheBillWaltonShow.com, TheBillWaltonShow.com. Pleasure to have him on the program. It's been a while since we had Bill. I think it's been almost since we started the Streamcast. I think it's the last time. I think we had him on the radio maybe once or twice as well. But anyway, great to have Bill on the program. A pleasure to be here. And I hope you check out the show, TheBillWaltonShow.com. And I always remind you, we put people on the show that I think you're going to enjoy. Breadth and depth of knowledge that I think they bring. And so always support them. I love it when you're in the chat rooms and you're talking and say, I just bought the books. I just did this. That's good. Go support these people because they're helping us all stay informed. And these are interviews and conversations you don't get to have in mainstream media. And I think these people, the guests on this show, do us a service. And so always try to support them when you can. And TheBillWaltonShow.com, go watch some of these shows. And I think you will be a smarter person for it. And information is a key. We're building our school, Legacy Christian Academy in Rwanda, and you can donate to that. I'm going to be heading over there in less than a month. But we tell this about the children in this greatly impoverished area of Rwanda that we're in and working in. And I say, and I've said this as kind of the tagline of our work there, education is the ladder that a child can use to climb from the pit of extreme poverty. And ain't nobody getting out of the pit of poverty in Rwanda without some kind of an education. And we teach them English, we teach them math. We're building a computer lab there at our Legacy Christian Academy. We're launching phase 2 of our construction. By the way, we'll announce this next week. We have $350,000 of matching funds waiting. All we have to do is raise the other $350,000. We'll finish out the primary school campus. We have matching funds. If you want to make a gift, we have. If you give $1, it's going to be $2. If you give $1,000, it's going to be $2,000. We have $350,000 of matching funds on the table. But all that said, is that the same way that I want you to listen to Bill Walton, or the same way we play the John O'Connor interview, or coming up is Doug Giles, is support these folks. Go buy their books. Go buy their. Check out their websites. Check all that stuff out, because it's all going to make you smarter, and it's all going to kind of counter program the crap that you've been fed your entire stinking life by the media. You've been told by ABC, NBC, CBS. You've been given the propaganda line, and sometimes you need to have that ladder that we give the kids in Africa to climb out of the pit of extreme poverty. And I think sometimes we have to have the ladder of education and knowledge so that you can climb out of the pit of the propaganda that the media has given us. So anyway, TheBillWaltonShow.com, all that said. All right, good to have all of you here on the program. Favorite costume is your serious question of the day today. What's your favorite childhood costume that you ever wore as a child? And again, I guess I had a scarred childhood. I don't remember my Halloween costumes. I do remember. Now, I didn't know until later on in life that there were some Christian people that did not celebrate the Halloween. I didn't realize that. Some Christian people thought it was like a pagan holiday. my dad was in the mortuary business. He was a mortician, right? That was his profession. And he also had access to caskets. And I remember I think we did it as a fundraiser at the church out there, that my dad brought a casket in and we had a haunted house at the church. We didn't know any better. I didn't realize that was a devil's holiday. So we celebrated, but I don't remember my costumes. I hope you remember your costumes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my brother from a different mother is back with us, and I'm not sure if he should celebrate as a big game hunter in Africa. That could be his costume today. He could dress up as an artist or an author. Ladies and gentlemen, a matter of fact, look, I think he's dressed up now as an author, a commentator, artist, big game hunter. It's Doug Giles. Hello, sir. Happy Halloween.
Hey, Jimmy. Happy Halloween.
I didn't know that. Did you grow up? I mean, you didn't grow up in as a real active Christian. We've talked about this on the podcast. You had some pagan years. Did you, when you came to Jesus, did you immediately know that Halloween was supposed to be persona non grata? Because I didn't know. I guess I was stumbling every Halloween.
Yeah, after I got converted, and what a drastic conversion that was from sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and doing it hard, as an early teen to 21-year-old, everything was of the devil. So, yeah, I wasn't a fan of Halloween. Yeah, because in the college years, man, the girlfriend, which I enjoyed, my flesh enjoyed, they would dress like strippers, and I think I used to come off as Fonzie from Happy Days and stuff like that. So yeah, after I got converted, it's like, well, this stuff in the way that I experienced Halloween always entailed, as Peter would say in the King James Version, Jimmy, the superfluity of naughtiness. I'm not a huge fan. Like, everybody's like, what are you doing for Halloween? It's like, I'm turning off the lights, man, and watching the World Series. That's what I'm doing. And I'm going to put my dogs out on the perimeter, So.
I just didn't know. I mean, again, my parents, they'd let me have a haunted house in the house, and we didn't know they were devout. I mean, these were teetotaling Christians, not a lick of alcohol. You didn't get to go to rated R movies. My sister never got to go to the school dances because that was two people standing vertical looking to get horizontal. And, I broke all the rules. I did all that, but I didn't know that Halloween was something I was supposed to give up for Jesus. But
I'm not anti-Halloween. I just, I just don't care to give more free crap to people who don't say thank you,
Yeah, there is that. Little Democrats walking around going, handout, please. Like the government shut down and so is my house.
Hey, you know why Baptists don't have sex standing up?
No.
People think they're dancing.
That's I got to tell that. Delilah, write that one down. I need to remember that one. I got to do it. Doug Giles is my guest here. It's October 31st version of the show. I watched, and I know what we're going to talk about. I watched this Turning Point event at Ole Miss, and there were several things that just caught my attention. First of all, in the rain, miles and miles of people wanting to get in there, students wanting to get in there. Erica Kirk comes out and speaks, and she's emotional when she speaks because she didn't know that they had used Charlie Kirk's audio to introduce her, so he actually introduced her onto the stage. And then the vice president gets up there, and he says, I forget the speech, and he just goes off and then starts taking questions Charlie Kirk style. I sat there with my jaw dropping open going, pour me another tequila, Sheila, because this is fascinating.
Yeah, I tell you what, the hell and Satan's party, the Democratic Socialists, they need to start sweating profusely because that was nothing short of a miracle, man. You and I have been tooling around this planet about the same amount of years. And I haven't seen anything remotely close to that kind of stuff, to where you have probably the 48th president, J.D. Vance, taking, again, questions from the most hardcore liberals in the audience, because as Charlie would do, J.D. did, they push forward the ones who have the strongest disagreement with Christianity, with conservatism, and with the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and Declaration of Independence. And he fielded those things for nearly an hour, man. and that's a career killer. If
Yeah.
if you answer a question wrong and you don't have your little pre-programmed Joe Biden inquiries that he received, and I think I heard from the chick that runs the Ole Miss Turning Point chapter that there was 100,000 ticket requests that were put in for that event, and they could only hold 10,000. And again, man, it's pro Jesus, pro gospel, pro traditional values. And you look at the kids, and they don't have blue and pink hair and nipple rings. They don't have 666 tattooed on their neck, and it was just amazing, brother. And we've been seeing this wave, Jimmy, that I believe started with the "Let's Go Brandon" cries that were going through all the football stadiums in the college games, and that was more of anti crazy liberal Joe Biden policies and tendencies. But now we're seeing it consolidated via post Charlie's assassination into something that's clearly Christian. And you see, I don't know if you saw some of the interviews that were done prior to the event, but man, those kids, I'm telling you, Gen Z, which I've not been a fan of, and I've written rather hard books towards them to try to wake their ass up. They had some of the most profound, simple, beautiful testimonies about getting their life right with God, getting married, having kids, loving this country, making America great again. And those were probably the same eye-postured zombies, that were staring into their dumb phone and watching porn 50 hours a week, a scant 6 months ago?
Yeah. It was really just so many levels of everything you're talking about. You mentioned J.D. Vance becoming the 48th president of the United States. I just think it's fascinating that J.D. Vance has admitted he didn't talk about his faith much. I didn't realize that he said that night that he, when he met Usha, his wife, he got questioned about her religion because she's grew up Hindu, but kind of a non-practicing Hindu, whatever that would mean. But he was more agnostic and atheist. He was an atheist or an agnostic, and he came to Christ later on in life. He talked about that, and now he's saying that he never really talked about his faith. It's been a big part of it. And now for the last month since Charlie Kirk's murder and assassination, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, man, they're preaching the gospel. That's crazy. That's great.
Yeah, again, and politicians are well known for wearing their faith on their sleeve and it being specious do and hypocrisy. But I've got a pretty good BS detector, brother, and I don't smell it with JD or Marco. I think they're sincere, and again, the way that they came off during Charlie's memorial, it screamed conviction. And Jimmy, if you're a Pentecostal, dare I say, it screamed unction. I mean, you can really feel some gangster Holy Ghost goosebumps behind what they were talking about. And like I said, in my salvo, my introduction, Satan needs to sweat and the left needs to sweat because they were always the party of the young people. And I heard there was a counter Turning Point protest put on at Ole Miss that drew, Jimmy, a staggering 100 people.
Wow. It was if you didn't watch it, everybody needs to go back and check this thing out because it was fascinating. And watching J.D. Vance, and you're right. I mean, I ran for Congress and it didn't go very well, but I ran for Congress, and even if you have small budget and small handlers, hey, 2 questions, that's it. You're going to flub it up. You can't do that. And he just let him go. And it went on for a long, long time. I have never seen, maybe Donald Trump talked to the media was so glad-handing and freewheeling like that. I'm hoping that J.D. Vance doing that, and even the way Trump handles things, that's what people I think are going to start wanting from politicians, not these slick rehearsed answers that make it sound like them and Jesus hung out and had a Coca-Cola last night, but it's just rehearsed. The authenticity, I think, is what's captivating.
Yeah, and again, JD, he wandered into the lion's den. He didn't know what's going to come at him, and he did it again with humor. He was gracious. He didn't bebop and scat and try to change the subject. I mean, can you imagine Mike Pence up there trying to field 60 minutes of questions from the young'uns? That guy would fall over dead, man. He'd freeze like a raccoon in the headlights. And I think it's the Church of the New Groove. I think this is something that, you and we get to sit on the front row and we get to watch this new emergence of how politicians interact with young people instead of taking them for granted, and also with minorities instead of blowing them off, corralling them, expecting them to bow and kiss the ring. Now it's a dialogue, and this is a biblical thing, man.
Yeah.
What Charlie started, what JD did last night, it's what Isaiah said. Come, let us reason together. And I think it's, I'm not going to start singing a Coke song or anything like that, but I think it's a beautiful thing. And we're not only is JD, influencing those young people are influencing him. And like you said, he's got to talk to them instead of talk at them. And I think it's great.
I'm now having flashbacks. I was trying to see Mike Pence doing that, and I can't unsee that. I can't unsee Kamala Harris trying to do that.
Oh, my God, dude.
I can't unsee Dick Cheney trying to do that. Joe Biden is vice president. You can go back, and there's been no conversation happening in the world of politics until really now. We haven't had this type of conversation going on in my lifetime that I recall.
Yeah, and also you stack on that the televised cabinet meetings that Trump has that go well over an hour.
Yeah,
and you get to see, again, how the sausage is made, and like you just said, we've been in the frickin' dark, man. They've cudgeled us off from all these little secret meetings, and so those who hate the orange man, I'm talking about the one with the glorious golden comb over. You can thank him, even though he's not perfect, but you can thank him for bringing a lot of this crap out in the open, and for, again, politicians interfacing with their constituents like never before.
Yeah. Doug Giles, Doug, I will talk about your books, your artwork, etc. But sometimes I'm now picturing all the people that trying to hold that event that J.D. Vance did, and I don't think they could do it. I then pictured Gavin Newsom. I think his hair would light on fire with the Aquanet because of the heat. But I just see him for an hour talking with his hands and doing things. He'd land like 4 planes in the auditorium with all that. I mean, it's just, I'm just trying to picture people doing what J.D. Vance did. And he pulled off a feat that a lot of our modern politicians on both sides probably couldn't do.
Yeah, so maybe at the Fight the Oligarch rallies that SEIU is busing their paid constituents to, maybe old Bernie and AOC and Mamdani and Gruesome Newsom could field questions from the conservative kiddos that are at those events. But again, I think it's astroturf. I don't think it's organic. I believe we got a lot of paid people coming in to see those things. But what I'm not seeing in their rallies is love. Not hearing about grace. You're not hearing about respect for those who have a different opinion. And again, you're not seeing, the kind of interaction that you're getting from a TPUSA event as we've been beholding them, for the last few years. Yeah. And it's just, and again, man, if I was Satan, I would be sweating my little cloven hoof nutsack off at the revival that's going on with young people right now, because it's real. You can tell emotionalism, and I'm sure there's a bunch in there, but I would be scared. And if I was to the left, I'd be truly concerned, because I think they've lost the ear of millions of young people. And we can thank Charlie Kirk for that.
DougGiles.org is your website. You got fantastic artwork. I've shown the photo of the Charlie Kirk print that I have in my other studio down the hallway, also known as the cigar studio. I'm going to send you some measurements and have you recommend another piece of yours, Doug. Folks want to get your artwork. They want to get your books. I'll let you plug whichever one you want to, because you always probably have something right at your fingertips to put up on the screen.
Yeah, so I've got to go with for the young people. And I wrote this way before couple of years before Charlie was killed. Lion-Hearted, Making Young Christian Males Rowdy Biblical Men. It is a no BS book. It is the blueprint to morph that squishy little boy that you have into a rock solid man of God. Nothing is like it. I'm telling you, there's nothing. Everything else is cheeky. It's fobbish. It's not meaty. And this is nothing but solid sirloin, guaranteed for the young Christian male. And also my Charlie Kirk prints. Those are great. You know, if life imitates art, don't get lame ass art. You know, remove that Justin Bieber poster from your child's room and put up a Charlie Kirk print of mine, and it'll be this thing called grist for the warrior's mill. He won't walk out, or she won't walk out of their bedroom heading off to class and be a wuss, because these paintings that I've done of Charlie will make them bold. It'll make them wild. It'll make them free in God, guaranteed.
DougGiles.org, all things Doug Giles. Doug, turn off the porch light tonight, raise the mode up, get the dogs out there, and maybe enjoy a fine cigar.
Absolutely. 3 of them.
I like it. I'm going to be in the motherland, but I'm not going to be in your part of the motherland. But soon, one day I got to just fly down there for the weekend and hang out. So got to work on that. DougGiles.org, DougGiles.org, DougGiles.org. Appreciate my brother from a different mother. All right, ladies and gentlemen, pleasure to be here with you. I got the readers on. You want to see the readers again? If you joined us late in the show, I ordered another pair that were, do you like them? The black frame, Delilah? Do you like these? She's giving me this. It'll grow on you. It's kind of like your career in the Lakey Entertainment Towers. It grew on you, just with that paycheck. I ordered them because the other ones were like 2.5 times, and I got dizzy. And these are not as bad. These are 1.5s. And so I'm going to now reorder another pair of clear ones and maybe send back the old clear ones that were like 2.5 times, because I was going crazy with those things. But these are not bad. I like them. You like them? Do I look distinguished? Do I look like Jessica Tarloff at all? I don't know. I hope not. Please, if I do, just put me out of my misery. I like them. Unfortunately, no one has complimented them, Delilah, including you. So it hurts. That's all right. That's all right. Glad to have you. All right, we got to do the stolen meme section of the show. I got stuff to do today. I can't hang out with you people all day. I have a real itinerary for the day. Ladies and gentlemen, it's stolen meme section of the show, and let's do it on this Halloween day. Here we go. Say it with me if you wish. Oh, yeah. Jeff says stumble alert. Let me do this again. I apologize. Jeff was stumbling in his walk with the Lord. I know. Sexy. You think my glasses are sexy. Not my tractor, my glasses. Country music reference. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Oh, God, I need the glasses to read that on my screen. Hold on. We got the real lie. If 40 million Americans are about to lose their food stamps, then they really work. I can see that now. If 40 million Americans are about to lose their food stamps, then this should be a warning to why socialism and communism are such a danger. A government that can feed you can also starve you. Bingo. A government that can feed you will also starve you. And I hate it if you're on the food stamps or the WIC out there and you're starting to suffer. That's why you need to find a way to be independent, because that government with dysfunction can starve you as well as they can give you that card to feed you. That's a great point. And that's why we do this stolen meme section of the show, to illustrate absurdity. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Next week, when millions go without food stamps, when millions have to rely on food banks to feed their children, remember the Democrats said that your suffering was the only leverage they had. That's true. That was what that lady rep said. This is the only leverage we have. People are hurting, but the pain is the only leverage we have. We will leverage the pain of American people so that we can give illegal aliens health care. That's the only leverage we have. That's your modern day Democrat Party. It is. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Trump, the Nazi dictator, has now ended 8 wars in less than 8 months. He has got to be the worst fascist in history. Isn't that the truth? He's a horrible fascist. Awful. Just horrible. He keeps ending wars and bringing freedom to... It's crazy. It's bad. He took the wrong... He must not have done well in Fascist 101. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Oh, there's a lot of color problems on this one. There we go. Ever wonder why why did kids shoot up schools back in these old days? Because they were raised to respect God, their parents, and their country. There they are standing up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Yes, indeed. You know what? I got to tell you this. I got to go. I remember my son took him the first day of first grade, and went to the school. Was going to a public charter school at the time, and they got there. All the kids were in the auditorium, and they all stood up to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, my son had only been in the country for a year and a half or so, and he's in first grade, and he's learning English. But we still had to, still figuring some things out. And I remember they wanted to stand up and say, who would like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And my son, 4 years old, of first grade, 5 years old, whatever you are, raises his hands and jumps up, and who's the lead? And he and his buddies, they all stood up and they led the Pledge of Allegiance. And I was a dad. I'm going, my boy's leading the Pledge of Allegiance. I taught him well in the year and a half or 2 years that he's been here. So I thought I'd throw that out there for you. All right. See, round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Here we go. Here's a Dollar Store Obama. Ready for this? Dollar General Obama. Sorry, it's blocked off on my screen. Starving peasants beg King Hakim to restart the government. I need my ramen. I need my ramen. King Hakim, please. Dollar Store Obama. We'd like to open the government. Yeah, please do. It's Chuck Schumer, though. They got to get him to do it. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. The best Halloween costume ever. There you have it. Is I got to get a bigger screen. It's Donald Trump walking there behind Hillary Rodham Kankles Clinton in prison uniform. I think that's really good. Let's see where we're at. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Pelosi rushes back on a private flight to end the shutdown standoff. There she is, Nancy Pelosi, coming back. Private jets for Nancy. I've ridden on a plane with her. I've told you that story before. Remind me to tell you again sometime. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Ladies and gentlemen, on this Halloween, they're from China. Memes from all around the globe, and we get all the way to China. We ran out. We went ends of the earth. Boing. Is there a song that should go do something like that? There's a song. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I hope to see you Monday morning on the program. Don't forget to follow me on the social sites. And if you follow on the social sites, you can do that. Facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page is the primary Facebook account. We're on several of them, but that's mine. Facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page. And also, if you would, please, don't forget to follow me on the Twitter, the X, the Rumble's just my name on all the other platforms, but the Facebook is facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page. Spell it all out. I'll be posting up there. Also, follow us on the Rivers Promise page on Facebook, facebook.com/Rivers Promise. If you'd like to make a donation to the charity, we'll start talking a little bit more about the charity heading into the holiday season. We got $350,000 of matching funds on the table, and I'm going to ask you to really think about helping us get some of those matching funds. $1 towards our building fund of the next 60 days is going to be $2. $100 be $200. We got matching funds. We're going to start pushing that, and also talk about Christmas gifts for the kids. So prepare your hearts for that. Everybody, if you're going to celebrate, have a great celebration tonight with the Halloween. Be nice. Drive slow in the neighborhoods, because sometimes kids are out there, and it's a Friday, so there's going to be a lot of Halloween-y kids out there because it's a Friday. There's no school tomorrow. Jeff posted one final thought. Be sure to check Aiden's candy tonight. By the way, Aiden spells his name with an I. He told me to remind you. A-I-D-E-N. I didn't spell it. It's his mama did that. I'll check his candy. God, yeah, he's probably going to a strip club. I'm not going to check his candy. He's on his own. He's got to be responsible. I ain't paying his bail money again either. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. I got to go. I'm spinning the globe here, and I'm running way behind on the schedule here. I thought we'd get out of here on time, but I can't shut my trap. Great Halloween. I'll see you back here Monday morning. riverspromise.org, info@jimmylakey.com if you want to advertise, be a part of the program. Love to see you. Thanks for everybody. I appreciate you. Be safe out there. Be very, very safe. God bless you. God bless America. Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.